see ya. Probably why I never have time for the fake friends I won't be ya. Oh God, I've been running now. Up early when the sun is out. Not setting out my own soul, but those real ones, they coming now. Oh look who's reaching out. Old friends with the feature now. They don't rest, so they need a free rule. You're reaching out.
That actually literally took probably half an hour to turn the GoPro on. So I'm doing pretty good as a YouTuber. I think this should only take me 7 or 8 years to get 14 followers and 3 videos out. Okay, so why I buy this car in the middle of a pandemic or start of a pandemic? So I think a little background on me probably makes sense first. I'm a businessman. I don't even use the word entrepreneur anymore because it drives me nuts. But I'm a businessman. I own a couple of my own businesses. So mostly oil and gas software. We've raised a bunch of capital, operate in a couple of different countries, so we're international. We chose oil and gas software because it's what my background was in, and I thought that this would be a good space to go into 6 or 7 years ago, and it's just been like the triple recession, pandemic, boom, 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 boom. So although we've made it through a lot of this stuff and we're now in a great spot and we're gonna thrive, it's been a super long road, like really long. And one of my goals has always been to own Lambos. A Lambo to start, or Lambos, or McLarens, or anything like that. Cars have always been my like crazy passion. I think about cars all the time. I'm constantly watching YouTube videos on cars. I have like some type of disorder about cars. Every night before bed, I'm watching like drag race videos, Lamborghini videos, customization, Porsche. I like every kind of car there is. I've fixed up a lot of old cars. I like classics, Lincoln Continentals, fastback Mustangs, everything. So doing my own businesses, one of my goals was always to obviously become wealthy and independently wealthy. And for the most part, for me, it's about freedom and opportunity. I want to live on a lake and have a boat and do what I want to do every single day and work as much or as little as I want. And I want enough money to have that life and then have a Quonset slash garage with a couple lifts in it and be able to own 5 or 6 different cars. But I never had aspirations for like yachts or helicopters or be a billionaire. Like there's a point where enough's enough for me, and it's still a lot. You have to have a lot of money. You have to become pretty wealthy. But I've always been a little smarter when it comes to buying cars. I don't just buy new stuff. I don't lose money on cars. I've only ever lost any money on one car. So I was in the business of exporting trucks for a long time when I was younger, and I learned the ins and outs of buying and selling vehicles. And so I've always done it very intelligently, and it's never really cost me money to have cars. So for me to have this life, to get where I want to go, I always thought like I got to get to X, Y, Z, or I got to make enough money, or I got to sell one of my companies and get this many millions in the bank, and then you can buy these expensive cars. And that was always my mindset, right? I was like, just don't buy one too soon. And there's some truth to that too, but be conservative, somewhat conservative. I'm not conservative by nature, but be somewhat conservative. Don't go blow your brains out on a car that you're gonna have to live in because that's your mortgage payment. But it always seemed like no matter how far I went through this business and how successful I got, and trust me, I got a long way to go. I'm nowhere near where I think I want to be or where I should be or where I could go, but been successful enough that by general standards, pretty successful guy. Made enough money to live a good life and had lots of opportunity along the way where I could have bought a Lambo or something like that. And I just never did because I always thought, I should just wait till I have all the cash to buy it and then another one and another one. I wouldn't even think about it. And then I should have those cars. And that was mostly rooted around me worrying about people judging me owning this car. And it's not just like people kind of looking a bit snotty because you got a Lambo. It's a lot of like, partners and other businessmen that I deal with are like, 50, 60. And they told me stories about how it changes how your clients deal with you, how your partners deal with you. Like they find out you have a Lambo, oh, he can pay us. Or oh, he doesn't need a deal anymore. Oh, you know what I mean? So it does change how people interact with you in business and in your personal life. So I always just kind of never did it. Okay, so fast forward to COVID. We'll get a little bit of room here to stretch these legs. But fast forward to COVID. So businesses are all going good. I'm waiting for that day when I'm gonna buy my Lambo and I'm gonna have all the cash and I'm gonna walk in and I'm gonna buy 2 of them. Here's all the cash, and I'm just gonna throw down a bunch of wads and I'm gonna drive out of there happy as hell, and I achieved it, and boom. So one thing I've learned going through a therapist every once in a while is this thing called destination anxiety. So, and I'm guilty of that. I'm constantly always worrying, every day. What if I do this? Where's that gonna put me in 1 year, in 5 years, in 10 years? What if I don't do that? Am I gonna miss this in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? When I get here, I'll be happy. When I get there, I'll be happy. And I've already gotten so much further, honestly, than I ever actually thought I would. And it never happens, right? I'm generally a happy guy all the time, don't get me wrong. But that expectation never becomes reality. It never gets achieved. And that's why it's called destination anxiety, because the bar just keeps moving. And it keeps getting further out, and your goals and aspirations keep getting bigger, which is a good thing. But if you have anxiety and you're waiting for that to be the moment when everything's good, or it all happens, then it never really comes. You just keep leveling up. You have to change your mindset. And so that was the first part of it. The second part is COVID happens. And in the middle of all of our business scaling, right? We're growing, COVID happens, and it just shuts everything down. Like everything goes to zero within 2 weeks. And I think that was obviously, a lot of people will relate to this. That was a big wake-up call for a lot of people this year. It really put things into perspective about what's important and what's not important. But it took away so much that we thought was necessary to live. And so when you strip away all that stuff that you thought was necessary to live, and you don't have that to think about or worry about anymore, what you're left with is thinking about things that actually matter. Family, your current business, and how you're gonna sustain and then make it through and make a plan to grow after. But spending time with family was a big one. Focusing on 1 or 2 things in my life instead of, I was on a plane twice a week for 4 years. And in that life, you get accustomed to just, what's the next thing on my agenda, on my agenda, on my agenda, on my agenda. And you have a million things that you're focused on trying to do. And you kind of 10% accomplish a million things, as opposed to fully accomplishing a few things, which makes you feel a lot better. And so for me, this was a great time to reflect. We had a period of downtime in the business. We had a couple options: pull it in, lay everyone off, and just ride it out. But we have too many people that are too highly trained. We knew the right move wasn't that, so we doubled down. We kept everybody employed, full salary, and we doubled our spend on PR, we doubled our spend on marketing, we doubled our spend on development, and we went in and assessed all our clients' problems and started fixing stuff and really going after it hard, knowing that there was going to be this scorched earth after, and there will be very few players left, but whoever's there is going to benefit huge. And now it's paying off. So at that time, I got a moment of clarity on my business, but I also so I got this moment of clarity on my business. And what also happened is I started to get clarity on what it is I really want to do with my personal life and things that I really have always wanted. And this car was on my list. Like a car like this. It's actually one step up from this, but this is a great way to get into it. And I don't want that to sound snotty. This is a Lamborghini. This is a crazy car to have. I'm super fortunate, and I'm very fulfilled in having this car. I love driving it. It's my baby. I'll probably never sell it. This one I'll keep forever, but I do want the one with the doors that go up. But that's another couple $100,000. So I got some more work to do. I've been putting off buying this car for so long because I didn't think it was the exact right time. Never is the exact right time. Never, 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 never. And really all I was doing, I was not prioritizing my life to say, I should have that car and forget about the rest of this shit. If I just save the money I'm spending on all this dumb shit, that more than pays for that car. And so that was it. I made the decision at the start or middle of a pandemic, when we're unsure of our business, we're unsure of how everything's going, I have enough money to buy this car, and I have really, really good credit. It just occurred to me, I'm like, now's the time. Because there's never a perfect time. So buy this car, force yourself to change your spending habits so that whatever you were spending on dumb stuff before now is going to the car, so your monthly burn won't change. You just have to change what you're spending it on. And then use that car as motivation that you want to pay that thing off in like a year or two and get your ass to work. And it really has done that. It brings me so much joy having this car. I love driving it. It's not just about the clout for me. And if it is, if people buy this because they want to have a Lambo and they don't even really care about cars, good for you. That's your reason for having a Lambo. It's not mine. I drive these things, I want to modify them. I come in the garage, I just sit and have a beer and look at it. Like, I love this car. So I have this now, and it's absolutely motivated me because I know I have this really expensive asset here that I need to pay off, and I got to work twice as hard now to make sure that that happens. And I also have more to lose, something that really matters to me. I don't want to lose getting to this point now, and so I got to double down and work twice as hard at my business, and it's paying off dividends because I'm working at my desk twice as hard as I was once COVID hit. So it's like this interesting thing about why to buy this car now. And to me, this works for me. I'm not saying this is for everybody, but I'm a jump without looking, jump, and then find a way to build some wings on the way down. As opposed to plan, build wings, assess the cliff, figure out what you're gonna do. No, I jump and build some wings on the way down. So that works for me. So basically that's it. I got the car in the middle of the pandemic, it's working out just fine. I adjusted my spending, it's made me work harder, and I get to have a Lambo. Life is good. So one thing people ask me, like, what's the best way to buy this stuff if you want to get one? You really don't have to be really wealthy to own these cars. It's like I said, you just have to make it a priority. So if you want to have this car, live in an apartment. Get a smaller apartment. Don't have to have the big house, the massive, you got to make sacrifices to fit your budget. But let's say a car like this costs you $2,500 a month. That's what you have to put aside. Most people pay that for their mortgage and their bills. So if that's the case and you make a certain amount of money and you don't have $2,500 a month extra money, then you can't afford the car, no matter what your priority is. You need to earn more. So go do that. Well, number one, I think using credit to buy these cars is the right route for me. I put a little money down to cover any possible depreciation, and then I finance the rest because I get really low interest rates. So my money is better off, my extra cash, sitting in my ETF that earns 10 to 13% a year rather than sitting in a depreciating asset that earns nothing. So I might as well use the bank's money to drive around because the interest is so low. And I put the money down to cover any depreciation so that at any point I'm always equity positive in these assets. Now the key isn't really putting money down on these, because if you buy the wrong car, you can put down a ton of money and still be upside down. The key is the money is always made in the buy when you're buying and selling cars. It's not made in the sale. So if you go into it, and I learned that at a young age, if you go into buying and selling cars with the attitude like, I'm just gonna get a ton of money, I'm gonna get premium price because it's a great car to sell it, you're not gonna make any money. The money's always made in the buy. So for me, I would have rather had a Grigio Telesto, Superleggera, Gray, LP, which is a different car, a little more expensive, but I couldn't find one that was below market value. And so I just didn't buy it. When I found this car, it wasn't the exact color that I wanted, which I now love. But the few things weren't exactly right, but it was a Superleggera that was limited, low miles, mint condition, and I got it well below market value from a private seller with no tax. So at any point I could sell this car and probably make 10 or 15 grand on it, maybe 20. And so whenever you're in a position like that, you have good credit, you're equity positive, at any point if you need to, you can sell it, get out of it, and make money, then all you need to do is be able to cover the monthly payment, and you're good. Where people go wrong on these is if you have the credit or you get a cosigner and you don't have the credit, and you buy like a new Lambo or something that's at or above market value because it's the exact car that you have to have. It has the rims that I want, but it has the interior that I want. You're gonna be fucked. You're gonna be screwed because you're gonna be $60,000, $70,000 upside down in a year on that car And unless you got the money to cover that, now you're trapped in that car. Selling it's not even an option. And that's uncomfortable to me. So financing these cars is not uncomfortable. How you finance them depends on your level of comfortability. So there's my 2 cents on having these cars. And there's my 2 cents on why I got this car. Okay, the greatest thing about owning this car, yeah, it gets a lot of attention, but it gets a lot of attention from like the young guys when I was a kid. I remember seeing these cars in real life and it was mind-blowing. And when the guys were cool and would let me come up to it and sit in it and rev it or go for a ride, that was something that I'll remember forever. And constantly, everywhere I park this car, I have people come up, and a lot of the time it's young kids. And they are freaking out how excited they are that this is a Lambo. And I love getting the opportunity to just let them get and climb all over it, get inside the car, and if I know them and their parents are around or something, taking people for drives. That is honestly such a fun, rewarding thing, because I know a lot of the kids, probably at least 5 or 10 kids I've already given rides to, that will be something they remember for the rest of their life, and that is really cool to me. Thanks for watching the video, appreciate it. Woo! Goddamn. See, that's what I'm talking about. That was at least $4 worth of fun right there.